that he having my remote in hand. So
Ready? Yeah, start. Okay, the first 20 minutes we'll have to ignore it. Or is it recording from there?
It's recording from the last 6 minutes.
Okay, fine.
Or do you want me to start a new recording? Repeat कर लेंगे ना?
You know how to do it? Starts?
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyway, it's good for you. Now you know how to record. Huh? Okay. So, today we'll continue the discussion we had in the last lecture. And specifically, we'll talk about the MMSC receiver for rejecting the co-channel interference. And we will apply it to a spatial multiplexing system to increase the capacity of the point-to-point link employing multiple antennas at the transmitter and receiver. And the development is general. We'll assume an arbitrary number of antennas at the transmitter and an arbitrary number of antennas at the receiver. However, being a linear receiver, it has some limitations. It can only support the number of antennas at the transmitter that should be strictly less than or equal to the number of antennas at the receiver. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so what is a spatial multiplexing system? Well, basically, it is a set of co-located antennas at the transmitter, right? And we'll assume some number of antennas at the transmitter, 1 up till, let's say, some M antennas. And at the receiver, you have NR receive antennas. And we use a linear combiner to produce a decision variable. Okay? So, we'll assume a rich scattering channel. The channel gain between any transmit receive pair is modeled as a complex Gaussian random variable with zero mean and certain variance. And we can assume the average power of all the links are equal. Okay? I mean, all the channel paths are equal. So, what is the aim of this receiver? If it wants to decode or demodulate the symbols transmitted from this first antenna, everything else is treated as interference, and apply a linear combiner and detect this string. You can apply the same principle, treat the modulation alphabet transmitted from mth antenna as the desired signal and treat everything else as interference and apply an estimate. So it can be used to decode the symbols transmitted from all these different antennas. Okay? If you say that if I use one antenna and send a single complex value data stream, and if I say that the multiplexing rate is 1, because there is one antenna, if you have m antennas, what would be the multiplexing rate? Yeah. Okay. Spatial multiplexing rate is equal to m in this case. M, because we transmit m streams are transmitted. Okay. So, if you can completely reject interference, and if the post-processing SINR at the output of the receiver is inversely proportional to noise variance, then we say that all the interference is rejected and each stream can be reliably decoded. In other words, in the absence of noise, the error rate at the output of the receiver is 0, in spite of the presence of interference. Is it a meaningful metric?
Could you say that again?
There are M interferers. We say that the receiver completely rejects interference and reliably decodes data only when, in the absence of noise, the error rate for each stream is 0, or the SNR is infinity, or in other words, SNR is inversely proportional to 1 over N naught. Okay? The performance is limited by the thermal noise rather than interference. Okay? And so, like I said in the previous lecture, the same receiver can be applied if you have M base stations, 4-channel base stations, each transmitting a single data stream. And you can use the same receiver to reject interference. Okay? So let's return back to the receiver we developed. You remember the system model? Yk is equal to h into
Signal received after interference will also be summation of all the signals that are contained in
yes, of course.
So it's same like additive noise, it gets added. So
Let's see the system model here. H into xk plus gm into xm comma k, m equal to 1 to m plus nk. But after applying the MMSE filter, all these terms should be 0, or should be driven to 0 in the limiting case where noise variance is 0. Okay? A normal receiver obviously would not be able to decode the data reliably because there is a lot of interference, right? If you just use an MRC type receiver, it won't work here. Okay? So, we will focus on demodulating the first data stream transmitted from the first antenna, and everything else is treated as interference, and that should be sufficient. So that should be sufficient. In other words, if you want to demodulate any one of these streams, treat it as desired signal, everything else as interference. And another way of using spatial multiplexing is that you can serve M users simultaneously and assign one different data stream for each user, and each user rejects interference and demodulates the data reliably. So that is called multi-user spatial multiplexing, because a transmitter can serve a number of users simultaneously, each with one data stream. Alternatively, you can serve one user and give all the data streams to him, and yet he will be able to reliably decode all the data streams. That's called single user spatial multiplexing. And the other way is multi-user spatial multiplexing. You can operate in any mode you want. And the receiver does not have to tell the transmitter about the exact channel states in this case. Okay? So we went through the derivation and we showed that the expression for the MMSE filter is given by where Rn tilde is given by the covariance of the interference term plus the covariance of the noise term, and the covariance of interference term is okay. This we got it in the previous lecture. But it doesn't tell you exactly how interference is rejected. That's what we'll see in today's lecture. Okay, we want to see exactly what's going on. Okay, before we proceed with the interference nulling performance, we'll first spend a few minutes on the receiver structure in itself. Okay, we said that we can safely drop this and call this as the filter, because it was just merely a scaling. Okay, so this is called a noise whitening filter, and this is called a match filter. Okay, and the combination is called white and match filter. The combination is called white and match filter. M denotes match filter. Of course, this is a vector valued match filter. Okay, I'm going to come up with a slightly different representation of this white and match filter. Okay, let's look at these steps. So we'll take Rn and tilde, which is a matrix of size nr by nr. Okay, it's a covariance whose size is, this is nr by nr matrix. So what we will do is, we'll write Rn tilde as L Hermitian. Okay, so what is L? L is the square root of this matrix Rn tilde. What is the square root of a matrix? Well, you can use what is called Cholesky decomposition and obtain the square root of a matrix. This is called matrix algebra. You can use what is called Cholesky decomposition and find the square root of a matrix, where L is a lower triangular matrix. Okay, one prerequisite for this existence of this Cholesky decomposition is that Rn tilde is positive definite. And by definition, it is positive definite because of the existence of Rn tilde is defined as Gm Hermitian plus N naught into identity. So this term regularizes this matrix, and this is always the eigenvalues of Rn tilde are always positive because N naught is greater than 0. Because N naught is a positive number, is a positive constant. Okay, so this L always exists by definition. It's a lower triangular matrix. We'll take this and plug it here. Okay, so W can be written as H Hermitian L Hermitian whole inverse, and that gives us L Hermitian inverse L inverse H Hermitian. Okay, and that can be written as L inverse L H or L inverse H Hermitian. Okay, there is a reason for doing this. Let's erase this. Okay. Now the receiver can be represented as a first filter, which is L inverse, and this can be written as H tilde Hermitian L inverse, where H tilde is L inverse H. L inverse, and then the second step is H tilde Hermitian, that is the receiver. Alternatively, you can write it as RYK takes there are a number of ways representing this receiver. Are you controlling this? Oh, okay, nice. Okay, why is that we are interested in this particular form? Well, strictly speaking, this is the noise whitening filter. Strictly speaking, this is the noise whitening filter, and this is the white and match filter. Okay, we'll see why it is called a noise whitening filter. Okay? So let's recall that Yk is equal to H xk plus n tilde of k, right? Where n tilde contains both interference and thermal noise. And we know the covariance of Rn tilde, which is Rn tilde okay. So n tilde, the noise term, contains both thermal noise and interference, and it has a covariance which is a matrix of size nr by nr. Okay. So n tilde k is called colored Gaussian noise because it has a covariance which is not white. White indicates a covariance which is n0 multiplied by constant. We call it colored Gaussian noise because the covariance is an arbitrary shape. It is spatially colored. Okay, this process is spatially colored noise. Okay. Okay. Now you will see that applying this L inverse on Yk, okay, we will apply this noise whitening filter, see what it does to the colored noise. L inverse multiplied by H into xk plus L inverse into nk tilde. Okay? And at this point, the new impulse response is L inverse H, which is H tilde. New impulse response is, do you agree with that? And let us look at the covariance structure of this new noise term L inverse nk tilde. Okay? You applied L inverse on Yk and you got a new impulse response which is still a vector. This is 2 by 2, this is 2 by 1, right? It is NR by NR, and this is NR by 1. The dimension of H10, this is again NR by 1. So we have an impulse response H. Well, it's not impulse. Well, it's a spatial response. Okay. NR by 1. It is of course indeed impulse response, but it is spatial. NR by N1, and then you apply with an NR by NR matrix. You reshape it, and then you end up with a new response. Again NR by 1 H tilde. And you had NR by 1, NR by NR, and then again NR by 1, new noise. Okay, with dimension NR by 1. Okay, so we know the new impulse response, but we want to know the statistics of the noise at this point. Okay, that is easy to see. If nk tilde is 0 mean, L inverse nk tilde is also 0 mean. Okay, and if it is modeled as Gaussian, jointly Gaussian, when this would be Gaussian? If you assume the modulation alphabets of the interference have Gaussian density function, then nk tilde can be modeled up to some approximation as a multivariate Gaussian distribution with 0 mean and covariance Rn tilde, Rn tilde. Okay, Gaussianity is not strictly necessary for an MMS receiver, but nevertheless, let's assume that is the case. Okay, what is the covariance at this point? Expected value of the new covariance is expected value of L inverse nk tilde, okay, and then Hermitian of it, right? And the Hermitian of it is nk tilde Hermitian, L inverse Hermitian. Do you agree with that? And I move the expectation inside. Okay, this is the new noise covariance. Let's call it n hat. Okay, let's call it nk hat. This is expected value of nk hat Hermitian. This is equal to, move the expectation inside, L inverse. What is expected value of nk tilde and nk tilde Hermitian? That is Rn tilde. That's by definition, right? And L inverse Hermitian. Okay? Now Rn tilde is written as L multiplied by L Hermitian. So L inverse, L multiplied by L Hermitian, L Hermitian whole inverse, that is equal to identity. Did you see what happened? By multiplying with the square root of Rn tilde, this is also written as L inverse is square root of Rn tilde. At this point, the new noise is spatially white. Okay? And then we apply a match filter with the new impulse response H tilde. This is the reason why we call it a whitened match filter. Because it whitens the noise first in spatial dimension. Of course, temporally it is not colored. In spatial dimension, it whitens the noise first, and then it applies a match filter. And if the noise is originally white, that is in the case where there is no interference, then our receiver is L inverse, you can drop it. If the noise to start with is AWGN, we simply have H Hermitian, which is a match filter, and we also call it MRC. No, not frequency domain. Spatial means multiple antennas. The elements of the vector rho, the elements of this vector yk, they are collected from different points in space from the antenna. That's why we call it spatial. We use the word spatial because these antennas are spaced in with some distance in d in space. Okay. In time, we are not worried because this is not a system with intersymbol interference. There is nothing to equalize in time or frequency. But if you had a single carrier system and if you had multiple receiver antennas, this whole thing will become a space time or space frequency receiver. Okay, it becomes a little more complex, but let's not get into that right now. Okay, it's much simpler, you know. So in OFDM system, on each subcarrier, you can apply this kind of system model, right? On each subcarrier, you can apply this kind of system model and apply this receiver. That is the beauty of OFDM. That's why it's so popular. Because on each subcarrier, the channel is flat, and you can model it as even relay fade. That's not the condition. In this case, you know, in this whole development, H can be viewed as a constant channel. In fact, it doesn't have to have any statistics. But we impose these statistics for some other reasons, which we'll explain shortly when we do the performance analysis. In fact, in this whole system model, H and the channel gains of interference, they can be just arbitrary vectors. They need not have any specific predefined statistics. Okay, they can just be constant channels. Okay, but we started with the assumption that they are, you know, really complex Gaussian vectors. The reason for that we'll explain it shortly. Okay. Okay. So this is the receiver development. We already developed the receiver, but we're just giving it a new spin and explain it in a different way, right? As a noise whitening filter. In fact, you can also derive this entire receiver not using MMSE framework, but rather using what is called a maximal likelihood principle. Have you heard of that? Maximal likelihood. So if you take Yk, it's a vector, it has desired signal with some modulation on it, and if you model Nk tilde as a Gaussian random process, okay, and it's a vector valued Gaussian random process, and what does Nk tilde contain? It contains additive white Gaussian noise as well as interference, and if you model the modulation alphabets of interference as Gaussian alphabets, then Nk tilde indeed becomes sum of several Gaussian signals is again Gaussian. It's a multivariate Gaussian process with zero mean, and the covariance given by this, and write the likelihood, the PDF for the multivariate Gaussian density function. Then take probability of Yk given xk, right? And then apply the maximal likelihood criteria on it, and it turns out that the distance minimizing receiver turns out to be the same receiver. You don't have to apply MMSE estimation. Okay? You can do it as an exercise if you are curious. Take this as a multivariate Gaussian density function with zero mean and covariance Rn tilde, write the density function, then Yk equal to hxk plus n tilde k, write the maximum likelihood, develop the maximal likelihood receiver for this, and it turns out that the minimum distance receiver, you know, maximal likelihood receiver, you know, the minimum distance criteria will be applied, and the minimum distance receiver will turn out to be this after you go through some manipulations. I will not do it here, okay? Just lack of time. I wanted to develop it, but I think we have to move on to analyzing the receiver performance. Okay? So, in a system without ISI, maximal likelihood, MMSE, and white and match filter, they all mean the same. Three receivers converge to a single solution. Maximal likelihood or even map, right? In this case, even map also you can include it. Map, ML, MMSE, and white and match filter, they all mean the same. Okay? As long as the system does not have, in a system without ISI, what you can have, multiple receive antennas, multiple transmit antennas, whatever it is. Okay? Well, actually, for the class of linear receivers we just talked about. Okay? Well, maximal map and ML are not linear, but for the system model of this kind, this equivalence holds. This is not universal. Okay? This is not universal. Okay, for the system model of this kind, if you assume that you are only interested in detecting xk, and if you don't know anything else about the other noise signal, and if you treat all the interference as noise, this equivalence holds. But for a general MIMO system, there is what is called a maximum likelihood receiver, which exploits the knowledge of the modulation alphabets of both the desired signal as well as interferers, and that receiver is different. Okay, but anyway, let's not get into all that. For the system model of this kind, this equivalence holds. Okay, so this equivalence holds as long as the interference is modeled as thermal noise. This equivalence holds. Interference is modeled as thermal noise. Well, an equivalent Gaussian noise with a covariance function. Okay, so let's move on to. Can I erase this? Huh? Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll use it. Okay, let's move on to how are we able to reject interference? That's still somewhat mysterious. Okay, we need to see what's going on. The SNR at the output of this MMSC receiver, or SINR, let's rather call it. What is SINR? Signal to noise plus residual interference ratio. It has an expression H admission we developed it, right? This is unbiased SNR at the output of the MMSC receiver. You can see it right away. Right? H admission Rn inverse and system model is Hx. And the amplitude of the desired signal itself is the post processing SNR. Or you can go through the derivation. Okay? This we have done before. So, in the limiting case, as thermal noise variance tends to 0, as N0 tends to 0, this SNR should tend to what? Should tend to infinity. Then the probability of error for that stream is 0. The average probability. This should happen for every realization of H and G. Every realization. Because H and G's can take any value, right? At a given time, H takes it's a vector with some values, and all the interferers have certain values. For every realization, you should ensure infinite SNR. Of course, in reality, we work with finite SNR. In the case when we have finite SNR, you should show that SNR at the output of MMSC receiver is proportional to is inversely proportional to N0. Does it make sense? Interference should be rejected by the receiver. This metric, after filtering, interference should be really suppressed out, and SNR should be proportional to 1 over N. Then we say that this receiver has rejected interference. That's a reasonable metric. Well, if it is proportional to 1 over N0 square, which is better, then we say that it has a diversity of order right? Then we say it has a diversity of order some alpha, whatever it is. Okay, let's not talk about it now, it will come about in the analysis itself. That will also. So you can also talk about the diversity order of the receiver as well as the interference suppression ability of the receiver. You can talk about both, starting with this metric. Okay, whenever you deal with vectors and matrices, it's not so easy to analyze the performance by plugging in the actual values and expanding the terms, inverting the matrix and all that. Okay, a better way of handling an expression of this kind is to use what is called eigenvalue decomposition for this matrix. That gives you more light into the system performance. That sheds more light on the overall system performance. instead of just analyzing it as it is by plugging the actual quantities, it's better to use the eigenvalue decomposition. That's like a tool that we can use to analyze the system. And this you will see in wireless communication all the time. Okay? That's why I said, you should be familiar with a bit of linear algebra. Alright. So, these are the general goals for us, and we'll see how we will reach these goals. Alright. So, what we will do now is, I'm going to take this matrix, Rn inverse. You can take Rn, without the inverse, you can take the eigenvalue decomposition, or with inverse, you can take it, doesn't really matter. Okay? We'll take this matrix, and it is a matrix with size nr by nr, and we'll have unitary decomposition. That is, this can be written as U Hermitian from diagonal matrix multiplied by U. This decomposition always exists because Rn tilde is positive definite. Why? Because the presence of thermal noise Nr. This is positive definite. What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, if it is a positive definite matrix, U is unitary. What does unitary mean? U Hermitian U is unitary means identity. Okay? And what is this symbol called? Huh? Yeah, this I don't spell lambda, right? The Greek symbol, capital lambda. Huh? This lambda is a diagonal matrix, and with the entries, which are the eigenvalues of this matrix? Rn inverse. Okay, and what are those eigenvalues? Well, let us say Rn tilde has eigenvalues lambda 1, lambda 2 up till lambda nr. Then Rn inverse will have eigenvalues which are 1 over lambda 1, 1 over lambda 2, 1 over lambda nr, where lambda L are the eigenvalues of Rn tilde. Okay? So now we'll substitute this into this expression. I'll call this something like gamma, okay? Just to simplify. Gamma is equal to H Hermitian, U Hermitian, lambda U multiplied by H. Okay? This I will write as some omega Hermitian lambda omega, where omega equal to U into H. This is nr by nr. This is nr by 1, and omega is nr by 1, and gamma is a scalar, and omega is written as a vector with omega 1, omega 2 up till omega nr. So if I expand it, well, I think it's a tracer, it's a column vector. Okay? So if I, let's say it's a column vector, okay? Because this is nr by 1, this should be nr rows, 1 column. So if I write it as omega 1, omega 2 up till omega nr, 1 over lambda 1, 1 over lambda 2 up till 1 over lambda nr, and omega 1, omega 2 up till omega nr. So what do we get? We get summation omega L absolute value square divided by lambda L equal to 1 to n. Okay? That is the signal to noise ratio, not signal to noise plus interference ratio at the output of the MMSC receiver. Okay, so that's not the end of the story. It's really what these eigenvalues are that dictates the receiver performance. We haven't still shown that this is proportional to 1 over n naught. Have we? Okay. So let's look at Rn tilde, the structure of Rn tilde. Okay, and these are the eigenvalues of this matrix, right? Let us take this matrix. I'll call it Rii. Okay, that is the interference covariance matrix. Without excluding noise, this is called interference covariance matrix, excluding the noise variance. Okay, so I can write lambda L as lambda L tilde plus n naught. Is it reasonable to do that? Lambda L is eigenvalues of this matrix, that is eigenvalues of this matrix plus n naught. You can always do that, right? So we are interested in the eigenstructure of this matrix, which has a very special structure. What is special about this matrix? Gm is a nr by 1 vector, and this is 1 by nr. If I take m equal to 1, Gm Hermitian, it's a multiplication of nr by 1, 1 by nr, which has a rank 1. That means it has one non-zero eigenvalue and rest of the eigenvalues are 0. And if we add up m of them, the rank of this Rii which we will denote it as m is equal to minimum of nr comma m. Just think about this. Yeah.
How did you say rank of GM dot GM completion was 1?
This is a column, and the same column is transpose, right? So, if you take a column vector and if you just multiply with Hermitian of it, what is the rank of that resulting matrix? It has one non-zero eigenvalue, rest of them should be 0. Because it's just a single column, you transpose it, multiplied it, it's a rank 1 matrix by definition. Okay? Well, it should be fairly straightforward to see that. Okay? Now, we're adding m such rank 1 matrices. If m is equal to nr, which is the size of this, then it has full rank. If m is less than nr, its rank is m. So therefore the rank is minimum of nr comma m. Okay? That is the most crucial result that we need to see how this linear receiver is going to suppress interference. Okay? We'll see now. Everything else becomes quite fairly straightforward from now onwards. Okay? Well, I think there is a little circuit here. We are assuming that the vectors Gm, the different vectors Gm, are linearly independent. This result does not hold if at all they become linearly dependent. In other words, if all GMs are equal, then they'll all add up and the rank will reduce. Okay? That is where the physics of the channel come into the picture. In a channel where GMs are complex Gaussian random variables and they are independent for all m, basically they are complex Gaussian random vectors and they are statistically independent of m, if they are statistically independent, then they are linearly independent with probability 1. Because it's very unlikely that you see a combination where they become linearly dependent. So there are a finite set of events from an ensemble of events of size infinite. Because they are all random vectors, they can take any value. So the total number of events, the size set is infinity, and the possibility that they become linearly dependent is there could be a finite set of events. So the probability of occurrence of this discrete set of events is pretty much 0. Therefore, statistical independence guarantees linear independence. Okay, that is the reason why I assume they come from complex Gaussian distribution. Otherwise, you assume that they are arbitrary vectors, and you can always argue that the chance of being them linearly independent is also small. You can sort of argue. You don't have to assume certain distribution on the elements of H. Okay, so it's just a way of developing the line of argument. Okay, so if they are linearly dependent, it's a good thing that I will show later, because you can cancel more interference. Okay, but on the other hand, if the H must be linearly independent of Gm for any value of m. If they are linearly dependent, there is a serious problem, because signal and interference are aligned, and you can't distinguish signal from interference, right? In other words, if you put a filter W into H plus W into Gm summation over m xmk H into xk here plus W multiplied by nk, this is W multiplied by yk. You don't want W multiplied by G, if Gm and H are aligned, you want W multiplied by H to be maximum, and you want W multiplied by Gm to be close to 0. Okay, that's when you reject it. But if H and any one of the Gm's are aligned, then we are doomed. Right? Because you want this to be maximum, you want this to be 0. They are conflicting goals if H and any of the Gm's are aligned. It's as if interference is coming from the same direction as the desired signal in some ways. It has to be coming from some other direction, so that you put a peak towards you beamform it towards the desired signal, and you put a null in the radiation pattern towards a set of interfering directions. Okay, that's a way of understanding it. So H must be linearly independent of Gm. Well, if they are all random vectors, this occurs with a probability 1 again. Because what is the possibility that these are strictly aligned if you are randomly drawing these vectors from a distribution? Okay? Fine. So, with that in mind, we'll just take this and plug it here, and we're done. Okay? So, what is the rank of this? I'll call this rank of this as m. M is a number which is minimum of nr comma m. So, we'll take this and plug it here. So, lambda L is equal to lambda L tilde plus n naught for L equal to 1 to m, and lambda L is equal to n naught for L equal to m plus 1 up till n naught, because this eigenvalue is 0 for L greater than m, because if the rank of the matrix is m, it has m positive eigenvalues and the rest of them are strictly 0. Okay? So, this matrix has, RIA has m positive eigenvalues denoted as lambda L tilde, and the rest of are 0. So, this lambda L has a very special structure. For 1 through m, it is lambda L tilde plus n naught, otherwise it is n naught. So, we'll take this and plug it here, and then see what happens. Okay? gamma is equal to omega L whole square divided by lambda L summation over L, that is 1 to NR, this is gamma, and this summation can be split into two parts. The first part is L equal to 1 to M, and the second part is make sense? And you may be wondering, what are these eigenvalues of the interference covariance matrix? Well, they sort of represent the effective interference power. It's an indication of power. The eigenvalues are indication of power. That's true because it appears in the denominator. So it's like lambda L tilde plus N naught is the effective interference power for the Lth stream or something like that. Okay? So now, where M equal to minimum of NR comma F. Okay? Now, you tell me under what conditions gamma is directly proportional to 1 over N. The number of transmit antennas, or rather streams here, right? M is the total number of signals in the system. Total number of streams should be less than or equal to N. Okay? So if I have 4 receive antennas from the base station, you can send a maximum of 4 signals on different antennas. If you send 5, the linear receiver cannot handle it because you don't know how to null the fifth. I have NR dimensions. I can null out NR minus 1 maximum interference. A receiver with an MMSC receiver with a MMSC receiver with NR antennas can null a maximum of NR minus 1 interference. Okay? So, if you want to maximize the data rate, you should choose M equal to NR. What does it mean? 1 is the desired signal, NR minus 1 are the, right? Number of M equal to NR. Therefore, 1 is out of NR, 1 is the desired signal, NR minus 1 are the interference. That holds for any stream. You can reliably decode all this. Okay. So, being a linear receiver, it comes with some suboptimality. Okay. What is the suboptimality here? Well, it has NR dimensions. 1 is used for capturing the signal. NR minus 1 dimension is used to reject the interference. Therefore, it has a diversity order 1. How do you see that? If M is chosen as NR, okay, then what do you get? What is the rank of RIA? NR minus 1, because one is the desired signal. Well, it's a full rank here. Well, actually, I think I'm a little mistaken here. There is a little problem. Yeah, I think M is the number of interferers. The total number of signals is transmitted streams is equal to M is the number of interferers and there is a desired signal. So total number of transmitted streams is equal to M plus 1. Okay? So please ignore the first picture where we showed there are M transmitter and it should be M plus 1. Okay? M is the number of interferers and one desired signal, it should be M plus 1. I'll call it NT. Number of transmit antennas or streams. NT. Okay? Now, so this should be NT minus 1 in that case. M or NT minus 1. Okay. Now, if I choose M equal to NR, that is the number of interferers is 1 less than the receiver array size, then let's see what happens here. Okay? And the rank would be okay. So for one of the eigenvalues to be 0, and if you want this term to scale with 1 over n naught, you want the interference covariance matrix to be rank deficient. Okay? If you want this to scale with 1 over n naught, the interference covariance matrix has to be rank deficient. That means at least it should have 1 0 eigenvalue. At least. Okay? At least 1 0 eigenvalue. Therefore, the interference covariance matrix RII should be rank deficient so that gamma is inversely proportional to 1 over n naught. Okay?
Strictly less than NR.
In that case.
Okay? I'm sorry because that was a mistake. And M should be strictly less than. Well, anyway, this is the condition. Okay? NT should be less than or equal to NR. Okay? And NT is equal to M plus 1. Okay? My apologies, I think it created a little confusion. NT should be less than or equal to NR. So if I have NR receive antennas, a maximum number of transmitters I can have, or rather antennas I can have or streams I can have is equal to the number of NR minus 1 are the interferers. Therefore, I can reject a maximum of NR minus 1 interferers. And so the condition for gamma being proportional to 1 over n naught is RIA should be rank deficient. That's the only condition. It should be rank deficient. And under this condition, it becomes rank deficient. Okay? NT less than or equal to NR, it becomes rank deficient. Okay? It is rank deficient when M is strictly less than NR. Okay? So now, but remember that you can have a summation here also, right? What does it mean? Any idea? You tell me. What is the implication of that? If I have NT less than NR, I will end up with a summation with some number of terms, right? How many terms will I have? Huh? NR minus M terms. Okay. Here I have NR minus M terms. Okay. Let us choose that NT less than NR. Okay. Let NT less than NR. I mean, just a special case. If you want to pump the maximum amount of data rate, NT must be equal to NR. If NT is less than NR, definitely your data rate at the transmitter has reduced. The spatial multiplexing, I shouldn't use the data rate, the spatial multiplexing rate has reduced the number of streams. If NT is less than NR, what will be the rank of the matrix, interference covariance matrix? What is the rank of the interference covariance matrix? Huh? M is what? Anybody? What is the value of M? This would be NT minus 1 and the rank is NT minus 1. Now what would be the rank? Huh? Yeah, NT minus 1 is M. Rank is, yeah. So if I put NT minus 1 here, okay, and that is, then what would be M? That would be NT minus 1 is the rank. Okay. So rank M is equal to NT minus 1. So NT minus 1 terms are here, and how many terms will be left? Here I'll call it N equal to NR minus NT plus 1. Okay, this is the special case, NT less than NR, and I have NT minus 1 terms here, and then NR minus NT plus 1 terms here. Okay. In the limiting case, as NR tends to 0, this term contributes little to the SANR. Okay? Therefore, we can approximate gamma with gamma is approximated as summation over L equal to M plus 1 up till NR WL absolute value square by NR, and there are NR minus NT plus 1 terms in the summation. Okay? If NR is equal to NT, I have only one term. If NR is greater than NT, I have NR minus NT plus 1 terms. And what do you call this? Just look at it and tell me. It is as if we have a system with a channel gain omega L and NR minus NT plus 1 receive antennas. A virtual system. Right? This is like an MRC combiner. Have you seen an MRC combiner? So I have virtual system with NR minus NT plus 1 virtual antennas. So I can call that, what is the diversity order of this system? What is the diversity order? Sum of squares of terms. So diversity order is equal to NR minus NT plus 1. As long as NR is greater than or equal to you violate this condition, of course, this whole thing breaks down. But this is the region of operation of interest. And what is the statistics of omega L? Any idea? H is a IID complex Gaussian random vector. U is unitary. You can show that omega has same distribution as H. Omega has same distribution as omega. Entries of omega I are omega I is distributed as complex normal, zero mean, and variance. Whatever the variance of H, we can safely take it as 1 or something. Okay, doesn't matter. And they are statistically independent. HL square L equal to m plus 1 to nr, the bottom. Now you are squaring sum of squares of statistically independent Gaussian random variables scaled by nr. Therefore, it has a diversity order nr minus nt plus 1. If you analyze the bit error rate for this system with this equivalent SNR, you can just follow the MRC analysis for this. And you can show that the probability of error is directly proportional to 1 over SNR raised to NR minus NT plus 1. So, an MMSE receiver completely nulls out all the interference and gives you a diversity of order NR minus NT plus 1. So, among NR dimensions you reject interference and you reject how many interferers? NT minus 1 interferers. You reject NT minus 1 interferers and NR minus, write like this. You reject NT minus 1, you have NR dimensions, use this many dimensions to reject interference and the rest of the dimensions left for array gain. Diversity, array gain. NT minus 1 for nulling out all the interferers and NR minus NT minus plus 1 is for diversity gain or array gain. So, the moral of the story is you can operate the system with NR equal to NT and you will have a diversity order 1. So, the probability of error will increase, but that's okay. But if you give little more receive antennas, let us say one more antenna than the number of transmit antennas, then the diversity order will be 2. And as you increase the number of antennas, NR, you will reach full diversity and complete interference mitigation, and there is no other receiver which can work better than that. But of course, you sacrifice the data rate at the transmitter because you used more receive antennas than the number of streams. At the transmitter, you don't have to call them transmit antennas, it could be transmit streams also. Okay? So, what is the capacity of this system? Well, we just proved that the SNR is directly proportional to 1 over NR. I said n over NR square, that's for probability of error, not for SNR actually. That was a mistake. It's the probability of error that goes as 1 over SNR raised to some exponent. Okay, it's not 1 over NR square, it's sum actually. Okay, so please correct that. Okay, so just please correct that. Go back and correct it. It's not SNR 1 over NR square, it's 1 over NR. Okay, what is the capacity that we can get with this system? With that, we conclude this receiver. Well, each stream is enjoying 1 over N0 scaling benefit. That means you can reliably decode your symbols. So what is the capacity of each stream? Log of capacity of each stream log of 1 plus gamma log of base to 1 plus gamma some stream index L equal to 1 to NT streams. Okay, this is the let's say the mutual information. If you serve many users, let's say NT users separately instead of giving all of them to one user, then gamma L becomes statistically independent of L. So the expected value of I is equal to NT times expected value of log base to 1 plus the gamma we had. You can drop L. So there is a pre-log NT fold increase in the rate. That is quite dramatic. That is what we create. That's what we mean by create the bandwidth. There is a pre-log multiplicative factor by NT. That is the bandwidth we have created. Remember in Shannon's formula, W times log of 1 plus. We replace. Well, of course, you can still have W here, but we multiply W with. So we created bandwidth. It's a bandwidth in making. So that is why MIMO is so attractive. But of course, there are so many conditions you have to fulfill that the channels have to be rich scattering, they have to be at least linearly independent, and so on and so forth. Okay? This is the magic. So we developed a MIMO receiver, instead of in a very indirect way. But in the next lecture, we'll talk about derive the capacity of MIMO channels, which follows a completely different route. But you can connect these two. That's mostly from information theory perspective. So I didn't want to start with that. This is much easier to develop. We start with, there's no coding involved, but you can sort of gradually develop. We start with a receiver and a transmitter structure, and ultimately, of course, to reach this capacity, you have to, the modulation alphabets have to have a Gaussian distribution and all that. Okay. So but we're not interested in those details right now. But the most important aspect is that you can increase the capacity by using a simple MMSC receiver. Of course, you have more sophisticated receiver, you can get something higher than this. But what is important is this multiplicative factor. That won't change whatever receiver you use. This pre-log multiplicative factor does not change. It does not change. You can have a more sophisticated receiver. This cannot change, but you can have a slightly higher increase, additive increase in capacity, because you use a better receiver. We'll stop here, okay? So, by the way, I want you to simulate an MMSC receiver. That is exercise for this week, and hopefully that would be the last assignment. And that is essentially an exercise on MIMO for you. I'll give you the configuration. Okay, probability of error for a MIMO receiver with NT equal to 1, 2, 4, NR equal to 1, 2, 4. Of course, you can choose the combination. That is, I want the NT-NR combinations. Write the code in a general way. 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 1 by 2, 4 by 4, 2 by 4. Well, once you write the code generally, use BPSK. Get bit error rate curves. See diversity and interference cancellation trade-off. You can see it for yourself. Okay? And at the transmitter, basically we just follow the same model. H and G's have identical distribution. You can set all the channel gains to be 1. H and GMs are complex normal, 0 mean, and variance you can set it as 1. Variance per element. Do this, and then also calculate the mutual information, that is expected value of log of 1 plus gamma for all these settings. That is basically, In the simulation, take gamma and calculate log of 1 plus gamma and average over some realizations. This you can get it from this simulation itself. Okay? And plot the capacity and bit error rate for these configurations. So you plot mutual information on y-axis and SNR on the x-axis. Okay? So that exercise, you should complete and show it to me by, let us say, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm leaving on 3rd. So all the exercises should be evaluated before 3rd. That, let's say, 2nd. Don't want to wait until the last minute. I'm leaving here. Not necessary, because convolution codes won't change things, but you can use it. You can do uncoded or coded. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. You don't have to use OFDM for this simple flat channel model. Or if you are really curious, you can use OFDM with some L and put coding in it. Then you can really see what's going on. Okay, it's really up to you how you want to simulate it. You can do this uncoded, non-OFDM, or if you have a good OFDM simulation, you can integrate this. It's a little more work. Okay, there are subcarriers and all that. Coded OFDM with L equal to 1, 2, 4. It's really fun. Then you can see the increase in the diversity order because of coding. So this diversity trade-off will change because I have NR minus NT plus 1 multiplied by L effect will come in. Multiplied by not L but some V. The new diversity order will be NR minus NT plus 1 is from this receiver. It could be on 1. And then OFDM gives you some diversity of some V or whatever it is. It becomes multiplicative. So if this is 2, then this will be multiplied with whatever the OFDM gives. So you can see the entire picture, trade-off between code rate, diversity order, interference cancellation. It's a full picture will be present. Okay? You can see the trade-off between code rate, diversity order, and interference cancellation. Okay? If you think that is heavy, you can just remove the coding from the picture. You can still see the MIMO benefits using a linear MMS receiver. Okay? Let's stop here.